Welcome back everybody to the wheel. My name is still Adam. I am still spinning this wheel with my very own hands, and the ball finished in number 16, and then I did a few spins off camera that you can sort of see. They're on the marquee, I'm not going to lie to you, and it did just by chance end up back in 16, which I thought was a great place to start spinning again. So without any further ado, let us get another 20-minute session on the way, and the first spin is coming up. So in the last session we had more reds than blacks, 56% to 42%, with just shy of 2% on the green zero. A lot of odds, 61% to 38% even. High and low, 53 to 45, and I'll tell you the columns and dozens after this result. Starting with black 35. 35, it's black, odd and high in the middle column in the third dozen, and part of the voisin section of the wheel. So in terms of your columns, the first column is on fire with 35.4%, second column just about average on 32.3%, and the third column on 30.8%. Dozens after this result. And we're in 18 red. 18 red, even and low in the third column in the second dozen, and it's part of the voisin once more. We spun from 18. Now your dozens, first dozen really quiet on 27.3%, your second dozen on 39.4%, really far in the lead is that second dozen, 31.8 for the third dozen. And we've got your French sections after this result. And sticking in the voisin with number 32. 32, red even high, middle column, third dozen, part of the voisin. So the voisin is very overperforming at the moment with 50.7%, yeah, slightly over on 34.3%, and the orphelin on 14.9%, the orphelin really quiet. And I'll have a look at what that means in terms of the actual numbers after this result. 36, the huge and the rouge, a red even high, third column, third dozen, TR section 4, red 36. So numbers 2, 6, 8, 15, 26, 30, and 34 are the numbers that haven't been out. Two of those are in the orphelin, next door to each other in fact. And the rest are spread across the other sections. And talking of number 2, it's making its debut. Nice little rhyme there. 2, it's black, even and low, middle column, first dozen of course, and part of the voisin section once again. That is, in the last 5 spins, we've had 4 voisin. It's been a very long time since we saw an orphelin number. If I had my marquee on screen, I could tell you exactly how many spins. It was spin number 51, and this is spin number 70. And number 5, red, odd and low in the middle column in the first dozen, part of the TR section of the wheel. If this isn't an orphelin, we're 20 spins without an orphelin. The last orphelin's probably just fallen off the marquee. I can just about see the colours, which isn't really any use to me at all. And 23 red, the enigma number, 23 red odd high in the middle column, middle dozen, and part of the TR section of the wheel. It's the only number in the middle column, middle dozen, which isn't an orphelin number. The orphelins are taunting us at the moment. So numbers 6, 8, 15, 26 and 34 are our numbers unseen. We've got 28 spins including this one to get them in before we hit the 100. Will it happen? It's never happened to me so far. Number 12 feels like it's quite a hot number. 12, a red, even and low, third column, first dozen, and part of the voisin section of the wheel. 12, it's not even close to the hot numbers list. Must just be in my mind. How many times has it been out? 3 times. It's distinctly average. And a long rim into number 13. My personal least favourite number? 13, it's black, odd and low in the first column in the second dozen, and part of the TR section of the wheel. The question is, where are the orphelins? Well, I can tell you where they are. They're 17, 34 and 6, 120, 14, 31 and 9. But the wheel isn't producing them as of yet. Could happen any spin. I don't know where the ball's going to fall. I have just as much of an idea as you do. And 26, one of the unseen numbers. 26, black, even and high in the middle column in the third dozen, part of the voisin section of the wheel. And if you're that way inclined, it's also part of the zero spiel. So that reduces us to 4 numbers left. 34 and 6 next door to each other, 15 in the voisin and 30 in the tiers. We can't go up in another increment of 13. So what's it going to be next? 32. Middle column, third dozen, red even high, part of the voisin and zero spiel. Racing through those spins, we've got 24 spins, 25 including this one, to get full completion within the 100. It's got to happen for me one day. Whether today is the day is a different matter. After the spin, I'll tell you the hot numbers. These are the numbers we've seen the most since starting this session. Sweet 16 is the next result. Is it a lucky number for you? It's my birthday number, but I don't really have any affiliation, one or the other with it. Spinning from 16. And if you're interested, 16 is red, even and low in the first column in the middle dozen, part of the tiers section. So the hottest number is number 32. We've seen that 7 times. 13 on 5 times, that's creeping up behind it. 33 and 23 on 4 hits, as is number 3. So the finales of 3 are really, really hot as well. It's very rare to get the full finales of 3 as we go into number 17, moving up 1. In the Orphalan at last, middle dozen, middle column. It is, of course, black, odd and low. So, yep, 17 on its third appearance, I beg your pardon, of the day. I'm shortchanging number 17 there. It's because we've waited so long for an Orphalan. And I believe 17 was actually the last Orphalan out as well. Yes, it was. I'm stifling a sneeze, can you tell? And into 35. 35, black odd high, highest black number on the table. In the middle column in the third dozen, part of the voisin section again. Seems to be saying the voisin an awful lot. At this point it might just be all in my head, because in the last 5 spins we've only had 3. 35, by the way, on its second appearance of the day. In terms of the numbers we've seen so far today, 9 hasn't been out in 74 spins, and the big green 0 in 61 spins. And number 30 isn't 9 or indeed the big green 0, but it's red even high in the third column, third dozen, and part of the tiers section of the wheel. I have also realised I've got no idea how far through this session I am, because I've managed to cover up my timer. I reckon I'm about 8 minutes in. Someone watch this back, tell me how close I was. Number 6, one of those unseen numbers. In the Orphalan for number 6, it's black, even and a low number, third column, first dozen. And 35 black is out again. Middle column, third dozen, black odd high, and part of the voisin section of the wheel. And it's always nice to do it twice. There's nothing sweeter than a repeater. 35 black out 2 times in a row. Of course, still black odd high. Middle column, third dozen, part of the voisin. Wheel mic's going to get muted while I have a quick drink. And the result, number 17. 17, let's get that confirmed for you. 17 is, of course, black, odd, and low. Middle column, middle dozen. And part, you guessed it, it's part of the Awful Ann. Oh, that's Anne, she is awful. I was trying desperately there to unmute the mic before the ball fell, but I managed to misclick and hit every other part of the screen barring the little toggle button. I couldn't do that again if I tried. And 34, another number we have yet to see. 34, it is of course red, even and high in the first column in the third dozen. And it's part of the Awful Ann French section. 2 Awful Anns back to back, we're really getting treated. You can see there on the marquee. There are a few Awful Anns coming out now. We've got 17 a couple of times, we've got 6, and now we've got 34. That's all the orphan numbers. The Awful Ann side, nothing. Waiting for 8 and 15. Number 5. I thought for a second there it was going to land in number 8 for some reason. Let's get 5 on your screens. 5, red, odd, low, middle column. First dozen, TS section of the wheel. Apologies, I'm full of a cold today, so there may be random bits of muting here and there. As we land in Sweet 16, 16 of course red, even, low, first column, middle dozen, part of the TS section of the wheel. Now you may notice my shadow moves around the wheel to spin. I could very easily spin from where I'm sitting now, however I think it just looks better coming in from one of the sides. I can see what it looks like from the top after this spin actually. See if that looks any better, any worse. I might be tempted to change it as we go into the number of love. 14 in the Awful Ann section of the wheel. It's red, it's even, and it's low in the middle column and the middle dozen. See, that's easier for me. And by the way, if you see something that looks like an aerial just at the bottom of the screen, that's a reflection of the camera. So high-tech here. I'm in my living room, in case you can't tell. I've got 12 spins after this one to get to those 2 final remaining numbers, by the way. 15 and number 8, opposite sides of the wheel. And legs 11, 2 away from number 8, but that's no good for full completion. 11 is, of course, black. It's odd, and it is low. Middle column, first dozen, and part of the TR. So right section, right column, right dozen, right colour, but wrong number. And of course, 8 is even and 11 is odd, but let's not ruin how right 11 really was. If we carry on, actually, we take 3 off again, and we get number 8. If we add 4, of course, we get 15. It's totally random. Number 2, quite a way away from both of them. Number 2 is, of course, black, even and low, middle column, first dozen, and part of the Voisin section of the wheel. Of course, 2 is quite special in the Voisin, along with 0 and 3, because they are the numbers that you get the highest return. 22 to 2 instead of 17 to 1 for 0, 2 or 3 in the Voisin. And number 5 seems to be holding up quite a bit, although that could just be in my mind. 5 is red, it's odd, it's low. In the first column, in, of course, it's not in the first column, is it? It's in the first dozen, in the middle column. That's what I meant to say, and part of the TR. So we've skirted around number 8 in the TR. We've got number 5, we've got number 11. Are we going to get number 8? That is the question. We've got 10 spins to get 8 and 15. I doubt it's going to happen at this point. Though every spin is unique. Back into number 2, Hokey Cokey Repeater. It's in, out and in again. And I'm not going to shake it all about too much. Let's just go for another spin. 2, by the way, is black, even and low, middle column, first dozen, part of the, you guessed it, it's part of the Voisin section of the wheel. And we've now had every number in the middle column, first dozen, barring number 8 in the last 4 numbers. And if that number 2 next to number 11 was number 8, we'd have had them in ascending order. well, technically descending order, number 28. It's 2 with an 8 on the end, but that's no good for me. 28 is, of course, black, even, and a high number. In the first column, in the third dozen, part of the Wazan section of the wheel as we come to our final 5 minutes or so together, I reckon. Got a good internal clock, me. At least I hope so. I could be lying. It could be 5 minutes exactly now, or it might not be. Who really knows? I'll stop spinning eventually, don't worry. I do have a little timer saying how long I've been recording. As we go into number 14, middle column, middle dozen. It's red, it's even and low, and part of the Orphaland section of the wheel. As we go for another one, let's have a look at those hot numbers again. 32 still in the lead, 13 still in second. Now we've got 5 on 5 spins. Nice. 23 and 33 on 4, along with 17 and number 3. 16 and 35 have also joined the party on 4 spins. And in terms of your cold numbers, it's just 8 and 15 we are yet to see. Number 12. 12 is red, it's even, and it is a low number in the third column in the first dozen, and part of the Wazan section of the wheel. And we're spinning from 12. Where do we think it's going to be next? We are getting oh so close to the 100th spin. I like the 100 spins because that means, of course, we get perfect stats. None of these percentage points, it's just all proper numbers. There's nothing better than that when you're looking at stats. It makes it a lot easier to read out. Number 12. It's always nice to do it twice. There's nothing sweeter than a repeater. 12, of course, still red, even and low, third column, first dozen, part of the Wazan section of the wheel. 5 spins to get 2 numbers. Odds are against me. Odds were against me, really, from the very beginning, to be fair. But you never know. It could happen one day. Today's probably not the day. I am sort of trying reverse psychology on this wheel, but don't let it know. Number 14, one below the number I want. 14, of course, is the number of love, and it's red, even and low, middle column, middle dozen, Orphaland section of the wheel. 3 minutes or so, I reckon, now. Let's get as many spins as we can in the next 3 minutes. We're definitely going to easily hit the 100 spins. In fact, depending on time remaining, I might take a little bit of a breather at the 100th spin to tell you all about how the wheels behaved in the first 100 spins of the day. As we go into number 13, we went down instead of up. 13, unlucky for some. It is, of course, black, odd and low, first column, middle dozen, and part of the tiers section of the wheel. And in terms of your French sections lately, it's been all over the place, hasn't it? We've had a few Orphaland, we've had a few Wazan, and a couple of tiers as well. So it's just the way we like it, although the actual numbers, they're not really spread out much. 31, reversing 13. It is, of course, black, odd and high in the first column in the third dozen, and part of the French section we like to call the Orphaland. Are we going to get back-to-back Orphalands again? Who knows? We had a couple actually, haven't we? Or maybe just the one. I don't know. It's been a while since we had that back-to-back Orphaland. I think we've only had the one actually so far today. And number 33, double carpet, on the cusp of the Orphaland, but it's in the tier instead. Black odd high for 33, third column, third dozen, and tier. All the threes with 33, third column, third dozen, third of the wheel, and it's 2 threes in its number. Very nice number indeed. Every number, in fact, in the third column, third dozen is part of the tier. I quite like that. Tier means third of the wheel, and everything with threes associated with it are in the tier. Just a little bit of info for you. As we go into number 5, 5 really hotting up now in the tier once more, middle column this time, first dozen, and it's red, odd and low. And that was the 100th spin, so 55% red to 44% black, 1% zero, 55% odd, 44% even, 48% high to 51% low, first dozen 30%, yes that's right, second dozen 36%, third dozen 33%, first column 30%, second column 41%, third column only 28%. In terms of your sections, Wazan 46%, that's pretty much bang on track. Tier, 36%, that's way over. Orphelan, only 18%, so the Orphelan is way under. 35 is your next result. I'll do an extra spin for that analysis. So 35 is of course black, odd and high, middle column, third dozen, part of the voisin section of the wheel. Tripped over that when it's so close to 0. Can't be in anything else. I'll do one more spin after this because I faffed about with the stats. Number 22, Casablanca. It is black, even and high. First column, middle dozen, part of the voisin section of the wheel. Final spin. There may be a little bit of noise. I'm getting into my old rickety chair. It may be rickety, but it's comfy. And aren't they the best chairs, really? It's the quietest I've ever tried to sit down. So I can't see the wheel from where I am, so I'm just going to rely on the camera. See if I can tell what the result is. And we are finishing with number 15, which means that number 8 is our last result to be seen today so far. 15 for the first time today. It is black, odd and low in the voisin section of the wheel. It's in the middle dozen and the third column. Thank you all so much for watching the last 20 minutes of spin action. I'm sure we'll have more with this session, and I'll see you all very, very soon.